welcome. Today is 19th of March 2024. My name is Antonio Hidalgo, and I'm interviewing Josh. Josh have been in my line manager a few more steps about for a long time. I have known him for a long time, and he's not only have been an excellent manager and inspiring manager, but also he has acted in many occasions as more than a mentor. So just want to say hi, Josh, and give you opportunity to say a couple of words.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here and to go through the informational interview. I'm usually the one explaining people how to do these, and so I'm very eager to be on the other side of the table and provide a little insight in terms of my career and how I got where I am.
Brilliant. Yeah, I forgot to say that you were the one that brought me the idea. Yeah. As I mentioned before, the structure is going to be very simple. We're going to have two questions. They are open. We can take as much time as we want. The first question is going to be just going to mention both. The first question is going to be how it's like to be in your role, and the second question is what challenges did you face. I can drill down. I can go into further questions if you want, but let's give it a start. So, how is it like to be in your role?
I would say very rewarding. I think in being in my role as VP of Network Success and Services, which is an interesting role because it doesn't necessarily exist elsewhere with that title, but basically it's the combination of our professional services team and our network success group. It's, I would say, I think with any role, once you get to this level, it's extremely challenging, where you've got a lot of people relying on you, and my decisions impact people and their career, which of course impacts their life and their happiness. So it's really like I said, rewarding from that sense where you can help and influence people's careers and jobs. And then there's the customer service side where in the world that we work in, it is extremely fast paced. And so we're meeting regulatory deadlines. So there's a lot of customers going live all at one time, which creates a unique situation in the software world. And so for that, the customer service is utmost importance. And so I really enjoy that side of customer service where you're constantly problem solving, you're constantly help customers work through issues, hearing feedback on the organization and how we can do better. So overall, I would say the position is very challenging and very
Right. One of the books that I have been reading, not too recently, was How to Influence Others Without Authority. In that book, the author comments on different commodities that can be used. There are commodities like visibility, there are commodities like mentoring, there are commodities like resources. I can lend you my resources. In the future, you will help me with something else. I feel for what you say. There is one commodity that appealed probably to do, which is challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I like a good challenge, and especially working through that with a team to help me get through that challenge. I'm definitely not the person with all the answers, especially given that I have a background that's not from technical background, but more on retail and teaching side. So, definitely, the challenge for myself and being able to challenge others is something that definitely keeps me motivated and driven.
I really like to. Okay, so you have also mentioned about working with others, inspiring in their careers. Uh, you you are a, for what I know, you are a genuinely people's lead, someone that you are also pleased to see how others succeed within their careers and eventually make you make a your important contribution to the happiness or the career. Uh,
Yep.
you have mentioned just a little bit. I don't know if you would like to mention a little bit more, or maybe you can comment something
Yeah.
that you.
Yeah. So, and I think you hit on it, is one of the things I realized, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, is that one of my main goals in life is to make people happy. And I believe that helping people with their careers is one of the best possible ways that you can make a person happy. And when I say that, that's not always about, telling them what they want to hear. It's really about the long-term happiness where you're helping people understand and providing constructive criticism where they can improve, but also recognizing when they are doing a great job at something. And then also, I think in helping people with their career, I think that's the teacher. I love helping people and kind of breaking things down to simple um, processes as best as possible. But when you can help
Yeah,
someone with their career, it's really a huge impact, on their life. And then on top of that, you talk about sort of, in the book that you were mentioning, you know, sort of there's the other side that as a leader that I get out of it, where I get I think people tend to be rather loyal because there's a sincerity on helping people through their career. And so you get people who will, stay around because they know that you're taking care of their career. And my teams know that for me, it's not about taking care of just the job that they're doing today, but it's finding ways that I can challenge them and advance them, whether that's within our company or even externally. I am more than
yeah,
happy to help because I think that, again, it begets loyalty, it begets a good, positive, happy culture. Um, but it also just begets a situation where people are growing and challenging themselves.
yeah. I was reading another book. I don't remember which one, but I don't know if the author was Robert Cialdini or Robert Sapolsky, but they were commenting that when you have this kind of aptitude, and because you have someone that is backing you up and is even encouraging you for having a degree, a career outside of
Mm,
the employee, you feel compelled to stay in that position even longer.
yes.
You are motivated. You have this culture, and it's incredibly hard to really move outside because yes, it's so much valuable that kind of culture.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's if you're in an atmosphere where your leadership cares about your career, you know that you can continue growing in the position that you're in, and that you've got someone that's looking for opportunities for you as the company grows and changes. And I would say that's one thing with being a TraceLink overall. I've had comments from peers that have come from other organizations, and they share things with me that they say, I don't know that I would share this in another organization because there's a little bit of a competition between peers and stuff like that. So you're cautious on what you share. Whereas in the type of culture we have at TraceLink, you know, this person was very comfortable sharing. And what it was about us helping each other be better leaders and improve on our leadership. It was actually a surprising moment. He shared that with me because that's just the way that we do things here. But I think it just begets an atmosphere where people are um, generally happy with their roles, happy with their job. They feel like they're at a good place to be. Um, and I think that's seen in regards to retention that we have at our organization.
Yeah,
I think I'm just a piece of that within our company where, that is the culture of our company is collaboration and helping each other out. And you can see it just begets I think generally a happier workplace.
yeah, absolutely. I not going to dig deeper. Normally the few questions that I normally ask regarding how is the role, you have covered most of it. So it's what do you find rewarding? What did you find more fun? What do you find that not everybody will have a stomach or will have not everybody will like this is there are things that you will have to do that not everybody is happy on with doing it. And yeah, and what are the things that you might find more challenging? Because
Yep.
challenging is also what you find rewarding. That
Yep.
is very well connected. Just going to give you a couple of minutes if you want
Yeah,
to
so
mention.
there's two things that, as you're asking the question, that I think of. And so the first one is a challenge for myself that I'm constantly working on. And that is um, having the confidence to make decisions that are significant, that have risk associated to them, that impact people's, daily jobs and stuff like that. And having the confidence to make those decisions and lead forward with those. It can, I think, in my opinion, a good employee always has a level of self-doubt. And it's about being able to control that self-doubt so that you have the confidence. But I think the good thing about the self-doubt is you're always trying to make sure that you're doing the right thing. You're questioning yourself. But it's just a matter of keeping it in check, keeping it in balance where you're able to move forward even with the tough decisions to in hopes of making the right decision for the business and in bettering customer experience and bettering processes, stuff like that. So I would say that's probably one of the most challenging things for myself is that it's the internal pressure. And some things I do to work on that is I focus on some psychological exercises where just channeling some of the characteristics that I would like to channel when I'm in tough situations, stopping and breathing and thinking about channeling those characteristics. I think has been something that's been valuable that I've had from a career coach over the last year. The other thing that I would say is challenging is the world that we work in of serialization is so complex, so many use cases. It's all new to the world. I say new, it's almost a decade at this point that it started in the US. But it's just such a new industry to the world. And for that reason, working with customers and helping them understand situations can be very difficult. There's just so much going on at a time that you're juggling a lot of balls in the air. And so really, I think the thing that helps me to work through that, which I've learned through my boss, Lisa, is, asking the right questions, really digging in, understanding the history of situations. So, either one, you can, so the biggest thing is to be able to come to the customer with the facts so that either one, you can say, hey, actually, here's the facts of what happened. Let me help you understand why it happened this way or why we're doing it this way or something like that, because you've asked the right questions to be able to share the facts with the customer. Or two, it allows you to say, hey, I look at the facts and here's what we need to do to improve to make sure we're providing a better experience for our customers. So it helps with expectation setting and it helps with process improvement by asking those right questions to make sure you're giving a positive customer experience. So I think that two hardest things is one, just having the confidence that is coupled with the self-doubt. And then the second one is really, being able to ask the right questions when you work in a complex world to be able to, help the customer, help and better the customer's experience.
Yeah, I have been with you in a few of these situations where we have been in a, because as you were saying, it's quite complex, but it's not only that it's complex, it's that it's been transforming. 10 years ago, most of and this was told with one of the customers, one of our customers that you and I have collaborated a lot. 10 years ago, we started in this journey of civilization in the world where we moved into digital. And the first people connecting with that digital part was the same people that we have been working. Now, the organization that we work with, the customers are players. They they are actors that have a tremendous impact in society as it is. I mean, so far, some of our customers I have a huge impact. They are very knowledgeable. They have problems which are very complex as well, but they have been living in a world outside of this digital infosphere. And now we have been introducing only in this narrow use case, which is serialization, all this digital world. And during these 10 years, the people that have been working with us has become the experts. But you have these two different worlds. You have the world of the complex scenarios outside of the digital world and all of the complex scenarios inside of the digital world.
Mm.
And it might look challenging to tell to someone who is an expert outside of the digital world, you are not considering this. So
Yep.
there is very few resources apart of asking that right questions
Yep.
that I have said you. Have I summarized well there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that nicely explains the complexities that we work with. And I'll tell you the one thing that for is kind of a an oxymoron is sometimes I feel lucky with my growth in that I wasn't from a tech background and I was from a teaching background because I think sometimes I've got to dig in and ask the right questions so that I can understand it, and I've got to place it in a frame in my mind that I'm able to understand it in a logical way rather than a technical way, and I think that can be advantageous in itself.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Can you go a little bit elaborate between because I following you. But yeah, I mean you have this teaching background which may not help you from the perspective of understanding technology, but it helps you from the perspective of how to share what you understand with others and get them
Yep.
up to speed.
Yep.
So that's the logical bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it is and to go further than just teaching, it was elementary school teaching where you have to
Yeah.
simplify concepts, sometimes very complex concepts, but you got to teach at the right level. And so I think that teaching background and that teaching nature in me is helpful as I go into the tech world, to be able to take some of these complex concepts and to simplify it uh, for customers. Now, that said, I think that's just, a piece of my background where I feel like, anybody as they approach a role, if they can understand their strengths and how they can utilize those strengths to better, in our situation being in services, to better customer experience, and figuring out what are those strengths to be able to help, improve whatever the process is, improve your career, improve your customer experience, improve whatever the process are that you're working on.
Mhm.
But it's about understanding those strengths to be able to really leverage them. And that's one where I know, the elementary school teacher in me comes out when I'm trying to explain these complex situations to the customers.
Yeah, I have seen the success of that quite a lot of times. So yeah, I think it's a really good skill.
Yeah.
I uh, you have been the person that have been introduced me to the informational interview. So for the first question, which is how it's like to be in your role, do you think we are missing anything else, or are we good to jump into the other one?
I would say we're missing tons and tons of stuff, but there's not enough time to go through it. but
True.
but yes, I think the key
Yeah.
concepts. Yeah.
No, that's totally fine. So the second one is what kind of challenges have you faced? That could go from you had to become first a manager outside. You went to be a teacher in elementary school. Not everybody gets to be there. Um, to move from that, that I guess will be a challenge. You already have your MBA. I guess that will be a challenge as well. So there will be wide of different steps in your journey that maybe uh, that's going to shut up.
Yeah. So I think that, I think the biggest challenge I had in my career was making that jump from the retail world into the high tech world. And, you know, I had worked retail for about 13 years, and I just knew it wasn't where I wanted to remain for the rest of my career. There was a lot of wonderful things that were happening in retail and whatnot, but I wanted to be somewhere where I could be help to drive innovation. And I love riddles, so I love the idea of being in a place of problem solving, which to me is what innovation is about. And so for me, kind of as I was doing my MBA, I realized that I wanted to do something else. And so the first thing I had to do, and this kind of goes into what you and I have talked about with informational interviewing, is I had to figure out what are the very high level things that I want to do in my career. And so I was able to pinpoint it down to four things. I always tell people try to think of 3 to 4 things at a very high level that you want to do. The first of which is analytics. I love numbers, I love spreadsheets and stuff like that. So I wanted to be in a role where I could use analytics. The second thing was problem solving. Like I said, I love riddles and solving riddles. And so problem solving and being in a place where I'm brainstorming and stuff like that was important to me. The third thing was strategy. I wanted to know that I was having an impact on the company that I worked for, and I was helping to steer and influence the company on decisions. I think that goes hand in hand a bit with the problem solving, but it's kind of at that high level what the company decisions are. And then the fourth thing was customer service. I've been in retail for 13 years. You grow in customer service. You learn how to speak to customers in very difficult situations. And so it's something that I knew I was very strong at. And, I don't love the conflict that customer service can sometimes start with if things have gone wrong. I love making it right, though. And I feel like, that feeling of being able to make it right for a customer is such a great, satisfying feeling. So I knew those were the four things that I wanted to do. And that's what led me on the journey of informational interviews, where I met with people and asked them, the questions: what do you like? What do you not like? What's the qualifications and stuff like that, so that I could understand where could I get those four things and where was I qualified for a role that had those four things. So I think that was the hardest part, is never having been in corporate, let alone high tech. It was a big jump for me. And when I first came into the high tech world, um, it was a steep, steep learning curve. I was with Kiva System, which is now Amazon Robotics. And I remember on day one, they were talking about releases, didn't understand the numbers that they were talking about associated to the releases and all the sort of the processes they had to go through and stuff like that. So that was a very steep learning curve. But what I learned is my boss who hired me into that role, Philip, is that, and I've kind of applied this as I hire people. If you hire someone with a great personality who is also highly intelligent, they're gonna figure out the role. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of what I've always looked for when I do the interview process: is people who are highly intelligent and just have a great personality. And that person without experience will do better than the person with experience who maybe doesn't have those two things to the same level. Might take a little bit longer in the beginning, but in the long run, you're going to get a better employee from doing that. And so that was the challenge for me, just making that leap from retail into high tech. And then once I was in high tech, as a client manager, I learned a lot. I kept driving. I looked around, and I had stepped away from leadership, and I said, "Hey, looking around, and I think I could do this leadership thing in the high tech world." And so I stepped into leadership, and then just grew from there. And it's been an amazing experience that I've gotten to where I am today. And I think I attribute a lot of that with choosing the right company too, with the right culture that has enabled my leadership skill sets to allow me to get to where I am today. I don't know if in another company with a different culture set and different set of values that I would have gotten to where I am today. So I think that's also another important part of the challenge, is finding that company that the values of the company also meet your value set.
Being in the right time, in the right moment.
Yes, yeah. I always say I feel like with starting at TraceLink, I caught lightning in a bottle, and just really lucky, and then having started it very early with TraceLink, that just offered a lot of growth opportunity for myself as well.
Yeah. I think we could say that was a tried luck, right? There are some times where you find luck, but I think luck is something that you harvest. So cultivating relations and what you were doing with the informational interviews, knowing more and getting yourself more ability to, whenever the opportunity comes, being able to be reactive and get
Yep.
it.
Yeah. And I think with the luck is just ambition and drive and, trying to do my best, at all times and always focusing on, given the roles that I've been in, the customer experience and, having that ambition have been a big part to play, but that said, I think there is a lot of luck in there too.
Yeah. And I really like what you mentioned. I completely agree. There are many people that, in terms of jobs, or when they are looking for new hires, the main objective is to find a list of checkpoints that they can go through. And possibly, and in my experience, actually, I would say that is almost the same. And I remember a couple of people, I don't want to mention, that they didn't have a degree, they didn't have formal education, but they have this curiosity. Um, Depending the position, I would argue that in some positions you need more ambition
Yep.
for developing yourself, and in other position, I think it's okay if you want to become someone highly technical, to have more than ambition, curiosity, to
Yes.
want
Yep.
to know more, to and having that drive that you were mentioning, and being I mean, I guess that you need to have some intelligence. The people that I have found in that position, they were all quite intelligent. But yeah, with these two things, you will get people that are performing better at
Yeah.
that job. They are even self motivated,
But yeah, and I think it's
yeah.
you talk about the curiosity piece, and I put that hand in hand with the intelligent piece because I think an intelligent person naturally is going to have the curiosity. But you're 100% right that it's that curiosity that allows them to ask the questions to continue to grow and to advance, and then the ambition with that curiosity too. I think goes hand in hand where it's all I feel like the ambition is the push, the curiosity is the pull, you know. And so
Right.
with that curiosity, you're being pulled towards advancing yourself.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back to my notes. I take a few notes, and I always like the old methods, pen and paper. You were mentioning at some point, because one of the keys that you were saying is asking the right questions, and the other thing that you were asking also before was the confidence that can surpass. Self-doubt is important because it gives you a check, but the confidence to be able to push it. And I think that's where ambition also plays the role that you were saying. Curiosity will help you to be more intelligent. Ambition will help you to overcome situations where you have this kind of challenge. And everything else, I mean, possibly what you were saying, trying to find the right references that helps you out to map out what do you want, how your end goal looks like, and how they got there. And with that will start getting help, and you can get help from others. I
Yeah.
may have jumped a couple of times.
But yeah,
um,
and I think that some of it is where the help of the others um, really is such an important thing in today's world where there's thousands of applicants for every role that goes out there, that it's so important to build that network and um, have connections that are willing to help you along the way. It's so important, And then one other quick point, just to go back to, was mentioned, as we were talking about the checklist as people are looking for a job and stuff like that. I think the other thing, by choosing those 3 or 4 things that I mentioned earlier, what that also allows you to do is it allows you to have some specifics that you're looking for, but it also opens the door where you're not thinking of a specific role, but rather you're looking for the things that will satisfy you. And the question is, does a role that I'm looking at have those things that will satisfy me? And maybe that role is nothing I would have ever considered, but as I learned about it through informational interviews, I found out, wow, this really has those 3 or 4 things from a high level that I'm looking for, even though I never would have thought about this.
Yeah. You break some bias and conscious
Yes.
bias that you may have. And if you get someone that you don't put it in the checklist, it won't fit in that profile. So you will increase the diversity, at least diversity of thoughts.
Yep. Yep.
I don't remember someone will tell me some story of bringing someone from a very radical different background, like I don't know, not history, but archaeology or something like that into the thing. And that was really refreshing.
Yeah.
I don't remember the story in details, but yeah.
Well, I think that bringing in the people with diverse and interesting backgrounds, that you get a diverse way of thinking too, whether that's an archaeologist, whether that's a scientist, whether that's a school teacher, whether that's a technical person or whatever. You get a diversity in thinking as you develop a team around those. So it brings different ways of thinking that you may approach things from angles that you never thought of. So I think that diversity is extremely important. And that's where, again, in hiring, if you focus on smart people with good personalities, they'll figure it out. That brings you that diversity rather than focusing specifically on their background within reason. Certain roles you've got to have the right background, but I think that's important to bring diversity.
I agree 100% on, because your strategy, you are getting people that are bringing the right culture. And it's a culture of collaboration, helping peers, helping each others, and it's a very safe space. So, and people that are self-motivated, curious, and if you don't have one skill, but you get into that kind of culture, you will get the skill. They will tell you how, or you will.
Yep. And obviously there's limits on that depending on what the role is and stuff like that. But in general, I think that's a good philosophy to utilize it Broadway.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think one of the things that I have learned during the last years in my career, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10, is that it's more important that wherever you're going to get the new job, there is a cultural fit than other parts of the role, because that culture field will help you to have more opportunities, because more people will want to help you and you will want to help other people, and you will find opportunities and more opportunities to help each other. We were talking about challenges. Do you want to comment on any other challenge? I really like everything that we have mentioned and how we can link it to the previous conversation.
So one other challenge that comes to mind, it's funny, as we were talking, I was thinking, one challenge that I missed is, as you go up the career ladder, is focusing on strategy more and more and less doing the tactical, which I'll be frank, sometimes can be a very hard thing. I love diving into Excel spreadsheets. I love creating PowerPoints and Visios and stuff like that. And so that is one of my challenges as a leader, is knowing when to step back. Now, sometimes I embrace it if I feel like it's something that's going to help advance the strategy, help people understand my vision better. I embrace diving in and doing that stuff. But I always try to make sure when I do dive in, that it's the right thing to be diving into that tactical kind of stuff. And then, also that I'm balancing it with making sure I'm stepping back and thinking about the strategy. So usually when I'm diving in, it's because I think it's going to help me advance the strategy that I want to do. But I've been trying more and more to, becoming a better leader is trying to do less of that tactical and delegating that to my team. And I think one of the things that, that I like about my leadership is the approachability. I think I'm a very approachable person. And part of it is because I like to dive in with the team. But I've just had to learn how to balance that a little bit better as I've grown in my career. So that definitely was and is a challenge for me because I like to get my hands dirty and, do those tactical things. But if I'm doing that too much, I'm probably not spending enough time on strategy.
Absolutely. I see what you mean. I mean, you coming from what background, and there were things that you loved to do,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's easy to get carry away.
Yes. Yep. Get
Yeah,
stuck in the weeds.
yeah. Also, it's important to feel that the team. I'm not saying because of myself. I mean, I always love when we collaborate together, and we do quite often.
Yep.
But yeah, it can be challenging for other people in the team to don't get how I will say don't because you are common, you are the leader. They may get a little bit put off, and if you don't have that culture that you were saying before, it might be challenging for those. So know how to live in, and then when you are getting out, uh, and empower back the team to keep doing it,
Yes.
right? That's
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really important point, Antonio, is that when you are at a strategic level of leadership, sometimes diving in can take away empowerment from the team. So you've got to trust and empower your team to be able to take on some of that tactical stuff, and maybe it's even stuff that's in between strategic and tactical. But I think that's how you help the team raise the bar and grow themselves and stuff like that. So by diving down too deep, you're sometimes taking away opportunities from other people to grow. And so that is also the other angle of making sure as a strategic leader that you're not diving in too much because you could be taking away opportunity from other people.
yeah. In the same way, my personal view is also when you dive in, also it's an opportunity for the rest of the team to to get more exposure, to learn more, and to maybe get that exposition to that gray area between strategy, because you're going to be doing that operational part, but you're going to mix that part of the strategy as well. So
Yeah.
it's if the opportunity comes and it's possible, yeah, when someone like you comes for someone else is interesting to also see the opportunities from there.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to move. I don't know if you wanted to mention anything else back regarding challenge and this.
Nope. I
Uh,
think I'm good.
you have been mentioning a couple of things. You mentioned that you have a coach, and I'm going to ask you about how you find coaching. I think this is strategic leadership coaching. Becoming a better leader. If you want to let us or to mention any of the other things that you found quite helpful, and I think yeah, that's the 2 points that I have.
Yeah. So I think in regards to, I'm going to connect both of those thoughts, the having the coach and becoming a better leader, because when I started with the coaching, and I explained to my coach what I was looking for. I don't know if you've ever watched the TV show Billions on HBO.
Yeah.
there's the woman Wendy Rhodes, who's the sports, kind of the performance psychologist for the team and stuff. And I said, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a Wendy Rhodes to help myself get past myself, And so I think one of the breakthrough moments, and it's such common sense, but I felt like it was an important moment, is I was telling my coach about Project Athena. As you know, that's the adventure that we do for people who've had a medical or traumatic setback in the last year or two. And we go on an adventure with these people. And it's just the most amazing event that you can do. And it's so moving and powerful. And I feel like it makes me a better person when I'm doing that. And it makes me a more loving husband, loving father, and, just more affectionate, because I'm not an affectionate person. And so I'm a warm person, not an affectionate person. And so I was telling my coach about that adventure. And my coach said, well, what do you think in regards to how does that make you a better leader? And I said, I don't know that it made me a better leader. It made me a better person. And I explained, the affection and stuff like that. And he said, Josh, the thing you've got to think about is becoming a better person is becoming a better leader, And so it was just kind of a moment of, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. If you're becoming a better person, you're becoming more confident in who you are. You're becoming more comfortable with your skin. And with that comes the nature of becoming a better leader. And so it was really tying in the personal with the leader. And I think that's an important part of, leadership, is really just being personal with your people and being a person so that they're comfortable with you and building that trust. And then the other thing that, really working with the coach helped me with, and I mentioned this a little bit ago, was the idea of, so Britt Paulson was my coach, and Kim, and I apologize, I'm forgetting her last name, was my coach. And they, we focused on this thing called the core symbol, which was about honing in on an animal or a thing that has characteristics that you want to focus on. For me, it was a dragon, and the characteristics were about being calm, being wise, being strong, being large, not afraid, a level of strength and aggression as well. And so really, when I'm in those times of stress or, I guess we'll say fear, when I'm afraid of what's about to happen, hopping on a call where I know a customer is really upset, is really honing those characteristics of the dragon. And that's been an exercise that's been extremely helpful for me to just kind of take a step back, to breathe, and to hone in on those characteristics that I want to be expressing as I enter a hard situation. So that's probably one of the biggest things that can help me from my coach to become a better leader. So tying these two concepts together.
Really inspiring. Yeah, hope this is helpful, not only for you, but for myself as well. I took note, and anyone else who may watch the recording. That will be all for me, and I think that last one was really, really good. I think it's really important. From a behavioral standpoint, having well identify what are the way that you perceive that better person is what will make you how you will be reacting in that hard times. That is well connected to all our biology.
Yeah.
So I quite like that story, and how I could, or how anyone could use it to become better. That will be the last question that I have. We have been already talking about 1 hour, so I just want to thank you again for joining me today, and it has been an absolute pleasure, Josh.
Excellent, pleasure here. Thanks, Antonio.